सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। How many more weeks left for this academic year? So the penultimate week. So you must be winding up your sessions, your particular grades. Your coordinators will be reaching out to you for signing up for next year's. So please continue. And this weekend, 28th and 29th, this month end, not weekend, month end, 28th and 29th, which happens to be a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we will be having the Teacher's Sadhana Day. We will be covering two different topics, and in the afternoon sessions, on 28th we will fix the lesson plans, and on the 29th afternoon session we will be asking all the coordinators, co-coordinators and the teachers to sit down and finalize the calendar schedule for 2022-23. That way we have you seen the message that I have already sent across? Did you all see it, read it? Okay. So you have further details being given in there. So please positively attend, and it is on 28th and 29th. So let me start today's topic. How many screens do you see every day? Different sizes, shapes. How many screens do you see? 5 to 6. I am interested. iPad, iPhone, TV, laptop. Okay, another laptop. Laptop में cover हो गया वो. Any other screens? So we have an average of about 3 to 4 screens per person per house. Right? When we used to have the E-Bala Vihar sessions, it was funny because we were 3 people working out of the place that we are living in, and on my networking router page I can see it displays all those instruments that are connected. Between just the 3 of us, there were about 16 different instruments connected. 16. Dang. There was one time growing up when I was young, we used to live in the government quarters apartments, and the entire building, if one person had a phone, it was the phone for the entire building. If one person had a refrigerator, it was a refrigerator for the entire building. Like I remember one of the guests that had come to our house had to take the insulin every day, every meal actually. And where was the insulin? वो नीचे वाले के फ्रिज में था. And the entire building had one screen TV. So about 12 families, one screen. शोले का डायलॉग याद है? बड़ी नाइंसाफी है. 6 गोली और 3 आदमी. Oh, Hindi. Okay. So there is a famous dialogue in Sholay where he has a gun, a pistol, it has 6 bullets and only 3 people. He says 6 bullets for 3 people is imbalanced. So he shoots 3 and then rolls it, and it's like the Russian roulette. But today it is the other way around. One person has 6 screens. At least on the Android, to make us self-aware and self-conscious, it has an app where it tells, in an hour, how many times do you flick it open? It's called Health and Well-being app. How many times you flick it open, how many apps that you go through, how much time you spend in an hour. It gives you an average per day, details, it maps out. Scary. In an average, how many times we flip this phone? Turn it on. How many times do we in a day? No, it is always on. I am talking about opening the screen, entering your password, looking, going through your messages or whatever else that you are doing. Do you know how many times we do that? More than? Now, I am shocked at 20 times, Sanjana. She has the luxury to not touch her phone. Dang. May you be thus blessed. It is about 80 to 90 times per hour. Waking hours. Which is like 1 per second. Yes, right? And in that many times of flipping, how often do we see our Facebook statuses, Instagram statuses, TikTok statuses, Twitter statuses, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, Post Office? I am just adding. YouTube, and emails. There is so much of media that is covered about whatever apps that I just said. How many of you, all of the apps that I have just said? Happy to see you don't have all of them. Post Office is not an app, okay? That was just a made up thing. Because there is some technical people sitting there. Whose memory, Amma? Phone's memory. And then there are people who have three phones. one for you know, common use, one for office, I don't know third one for what, but there is so much of consumption of this media, whether it is mass media, whether it is social media, whether it is movies, YouTubes. Up until the World War II, there were strategies, spies and all these had a physical war. They used to call that as the third front. Today the fourth front is not the war that is happening on the borders. It is the war of media. More specifically, the war of narratives through the media. Fourth front war, it is the narrative war, it is the mass media war, and for being successful in that narrative you need to have your own ecological system, ecosystem. The moment there is something that has to be opposed or voiced, there is a hashtag created. So, like say yesterday there was, bhiksha, and during the bhiksha there were rasagullas. And it was not like the canned, rubbery, tasteless jaw extenders. It was really tasty. And one of the brahmacharyas said, "Can I have one more?" So I was also tempted. So I said, "Me too." Immediately the answer that I get is it with a hashtag or without a hashtag? Ordinary me too has one meaning. Hashtag me too has got a completely different meaning. A different vocabulary altogether. That as soon as there is a particular event that you want to have a particular narrative of that particular event to be perceived, there is a hashtag that is run, and that hashtag becomes popular, is made to be popular. It is the current running viral hashtag. And these are through some of the most powerful convincers, which is the social media, mass media and the movies. In the last about 25 to 30 years, if you look at specifically, at that time there was 30 years ago, there was not this kind of social media and mass media influence. TV and movies were quite an influence, very deep influence. How many of you have seen the movie called Indiana Jones? almost everybody saw it. Was it the second or the third of the series which was called The Temple of the Doom? The Temple of the Doom. Do you remember what the story was? It shows about India quite a bit. And what is shown is quite shocking. That the exotic dishes include, was it a monkey brain? That Indians have these exotic dishes, including dishes like the monkey brain. That was the first time I saw how impactful through the movies. This was way back at that time when it was released. I must have been in my later part of high school, I think. I remember that I had jumped the wall of the school to go to the movie theater on a Friday. On Fridays we used to have extracurricular activities in the afternoon. I remember, I am shamelessly sharing it. So it must have been in school, high school, later high school. That is when my attention, my radar caught this, and I started seeing such patterns even in movies like produced in with the Indian context, whether it is through Bombay, whether it is through any of the other southern Indian hubs, whether it is the Telugu industry, Tamil industry, Kannada industry or Malayalam industry. Other than the Hindi, maybe some Marathi here and there, Bengali was quite progressive. There was a movie, I am talking about when I started recognizing these patterns of narration or narratives. There was a movie where it is Kamal Haasan and Sridevi. No, I am not talking of Sadma. But I don't remember the name. It is right there. Where he is quite a modern guy and she is quite a simpleton. She insists that she has to worship Ganesh Bhagwan during Ganesh Chaturthi. So finally he says, okay, let us go to the market, get your Ganesh Murti. So he asks, the actor Kamal Haasan asks, Yavlo, how much? So he says 15 rupees for one Murti. So he turns to Sridevi and says, your gods are very cheap. So that was the days I started observing it. Then the whole industry started opening up with a completely different picture. Those who speak in, say, complete Shuddha Hindi in the last 20, 30 years movie industry, those who speak in Shuddha Bhasha is either a villain or a comedian. I'm not kidding. So what is happening? What is the idea that is being fine-tuned? That those who speak in chasteness of something, you are either crooked or a fool. But what is cool? Half Hindi, half English. See, slang is different. Mumbaiya is a slang, a dialect. This is a completely a new breed. Half Hindi, half English, half Tamil, half English, half Telugu, half English. They call it Hinglish. Oh, I don't care, mujhe pata nahi. That is cool. So the depiction of the entire Indianness, Indian civilization, Indian ethos, that several of the, like there were times where there were certain movies. I was in Bombay at that time studying. I have not watched that movie, but I am told that Anil Kapoor and what is his name? He is always bearded. Areva, Nana Patekar. I think the movie's name is Parinda, where the people who believe in putting Chandan, Kumkum, Tilak is a villain character. And I don't know what that character's name was. I used to put Vibhuti and Kumkum even to school. I was called that name, I remember, for at least few months, bullied by that name. So it has the impact on the societal, because the children especially, the young youth that especially, get very influenced. Once I was in India, I was here already in US. This is in 2002, after 2002. I had been in India. Sometimes the rarest things have happened. You know Hari Chaitanya? Hari Chaitanya's parents and grandparents, I met them in a train, incidentally in India. Like they had gone to few months before me and I had just gone, I got into the train. Okay, they being on the same train is coincidence. Opposite seats. It was like little too spooky. So something similar like that. I was in Bangalore. How many of you are aware of Bangalore? Like you have been there, raised or walked the streets and things like that, right? There is a Raja Bazaar. You know? Gota? I was walking in those gullies. It is like Chor Bazaar or I'm not talking Chor is something, but it is a bazaar. Amma, Chor Bazaar is not stolen now. But there is a name, and something came into my mind. She got offended that I called it Chor Bazaar. Illamma. No, I didn't compare it to the choreness, I was only comparing it to the bazaarness of it. Huh. So, it's like very intricate gullies, and you have to really know the place to know where things are sold. And in one such remote corner of Raja Bazaar, I was walking. Raja Market. Huh. So, there are only few shops that sell this kind of cloth. Not all shops sell. So, there is one that I know in that Raja Market, and I was like, quickly, busily running through the intricate streets. There, suddenly, somebody says, Hari Om Swamiji. I am like, in disbelief. I turn, and it is one of our mission members from Saket I found there. And I said, what are you doing? I said, Swamiji, for, my daughter is in college and she is in some Bhangra group, and they want this DDLJ sets. It went above me. You seem to have already recognized it. Oh, you also recognized it, very good. Did you recognize it? Oh, da. Hindi varave varade DDLJ set theriyum. Da. See the influence. Hindi mere ko aata nahi. But DDLJ set she knows. Okay, let's hear it from her. What is DDLJ, ma? Oh, yo. The kind of clothes that we wear get designed by them. The kind of food we should appreciate gets decided by them. Oh, the $1,000 for the fine decided by me. So we will collect it from them also. So the influence of it is that what we wear, what we eat, what we think, what we should or should not gets decided by them, and we start behaving similar. Isn't it? There was a time when the hair had to be spiked and the hair had to be long, bell bottom to tights to baggy to bell bottom again. Remember 50s? All the actors and actresses, they used to have those kind of clothes. And then became, what is that? Jitendra, Shami Kapoor, tights. Clothes. Food habits. It was the same media, same movies, where there was a time where okay, instead of me answering it, let me ask. Do you know who sang Mana Tadapat Hari Darasana Ko Aaj? Mohammad Rafi sang it. Who gave the music for it? Naushad. Who wrote the lyrics? Some Muslim gentleman. Muslim, music director, Muslim singer, and a Muslim lyricist. What is the lyrics that was written? Mana Tadapat Hari Darasana Ko Aaj. The movie is Baiju Bawra. In fact, all the songs there are amazingly classical. Amazing. we come to the last 25-30 years, where a movie like Rang De Basanti, a movie like, how many of you have watched it? Did you find anything disturbing in it? Then comes PK. Haji? It's a very powerful media. A powerful media to get across, and an ecosystem of social media and mass media to support, all in trying to prove what? That if you are trying to be traditional, if you are trying to speak traditional, if you are trying to practice something traditional, you are no less than a villain. If not, you are a comedian, you are a fool. If you have to be cool, then you have to have the influence of various systems. Sometimes once in a while, once in 2 years, there is one offbeat that becomes popular. I am not talking about that, I am talking of the bulk of such media that comes across. Now, what is the influence? Is there an influence of all of this in today's generation? In today's kids growing up in this generation, is there an influence? I seldom go to these marriages, but if I go, I see that there is a whole music band, and both the groom and bride are dancing in coming into their marriage. I said, when did this become a tradition of a Hindu marriage? I was completely shocked. See, the girl is waiting, or girl's side is waiting, the boy's side come on a horse. Utna tak. Bharath. The girl is also dancing, the boy is also dancing. So when did this tradition become a mainstream? That the marriage system, which is supposed to be done for 3 to 5 days, has been cut short to these cliched things. And who has directed that into these kids' lives, saying that that is supposed to be done as marriage? ढोली सजा के रखना, पकड़ के ना करण जौहर को मारना चाहिए. Amma? See, that's different. But now when you see the marriage, it is the main mandap, the yajna kunda and the process, and that is gone. Completely something new has come in. Why? It has become popularized. Does it have the influence on this generation, children growing up here? Seems to be. This folder full of shlokas and mantras to teach, it takes such a terrible effort by all of us to get across to those kids. In the radio, on YouTube, they hear these new songs, and by the end of the week it is already memorized. This was 2016 Mahasamadi Camp. which we conducted in the Hyatt near the airport, or in the airport, in DFW airport. So my job was to safely fastly bring Guruji and take him back without being hindered. So I used to keep couple of people ready to keep the elevator ready. As soon as he comes, without waiting, he can get in. Well-oiled system. We got into the elevator. Usually nobody else, so that there is no stalling of it en route. It was planned because it is a public system, that too in the middle of the airport. Sometimes it could take several, and for somebody who has just spoken for 1.5 hours, sometimes he needs to take rest or use restroom, so going there. So one little kid jumps into that elevator, and Guruji says Hari Om, and he looks at Guruji and says, I'm good, how are you? He thought Hari Om, that kid thought that Hari Om sounded like how are you, so he started answering. And the kid starts humming something. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the kid gets off after 4th or 5th floor, and Guruji was quite impressed. Chan mulga. Such a good kid. He was chanting Hare Rama mantra. I was like, do you know what that kid was actually singing? Do you know which movie? Bhool Bhulaiya. That is where that step was introduced. The kids pick it up. Then I showed him the clip on YouTube, and he's like, Rama Rama. The mantra has been destroyed efficiently. So the kid's mind is tweaked. So all these influences influence at a net result of feeling where the concept that is being driven, if you see a whole genre of Indian movies, when I say whole genre, there are several themes in there, thematic genres. Whenever there is seva to be done, whenever there is some kind of seva to the society, seva to the upliftment of, what are the photos that you will find on the wall behind? Jesus. Okay, what else? Mother Teresa. I'll tell you a case in point. Madhavan, Kamala Hassan, there is a movie. Super ma. Fingertips la irukku. Nanu paakala. Satyame Shivam in Telugu, Anbe Shivam in Tamil. I think it was remade in Hindi also. A Hindu plots, it is not shown that it is a Hindu plot, but he happens to be a Hindu is shown. Plots for somebody's almost a demise, and he is recovered. And what is the backdrop? The Christian missionary sisters and nuns tirelessly work, revive that fellow, and his heart is now filled with compassion and forgiveness. And that's the theme of that story. And now with the reason I said Rang De Basanti is, it was released around that time when there is, how many of you have seen that movie? And you didn't find it disturbing, right? I think, Amma? Oh, thank goodness you forgot. It was around that 2003-2004 time where, or 5, around that time where this movie got quite a acclaimed success. It was right around that time there was Afzal Guru case that was running in the courts. Do you remember who is Afzal Guru? What did he do? Parliament. He attacked and bombed, tried to bomb the parliament. What is the theme of this particular movie? What is the theme of this Rang De Basanti movie? It is Bhagat Singh. And correlating it to the present time, just like Bhagat Singh and those his aides, they bombed. They also had bombed, right? Do you remember the story? So just like that they had bombed, today also there is bombing happening. They were freedom fighters, these are also freedom fighters. Therefore, if you don't like the system, pick up arms and go bomb the parliament. So the media is given anti-Hindu, media is given, media portrays, oh another, have you heard of Kyonki Saas Bhi Bahu Thi? You know the Sony, lot of these TV series that come, soap operas that come. Do you know where they get the script from? The script writers are sitting in London, Oxford and Cambridge. Only the production part of that script has to be done in India or Bombay. And what are the themes? The themes promoted are how the daughter-in-law should be cunning to get the entire family, especially the mother-in-law. Or it is okay to have multiple relationships or infidelity or various themes that are, and people are like gaping at it, watching. And I know people are like stuck for it, that anything may happen, I have to watch those soap operas. Now what is happening with all this? What is the kind of deep influence that happens? It is being designed, used as a narrative to get to the Hindu mind, where you practicing what you are practicing, you should either feel apologetic about it or feel defensively sad about it. As a net result, what is the standpoint that we need to take and how do we tackle it? Do you recognize a systematic pattern of narrative? Growing in that environment we cannot avoid, but definitely protecting we can. So how does one protect? If there are, at least this is what I do, if there are people that constantly encourage and participate in acting in that kind of movies that are anti-Hindu, that are anti-civilization, to show the entire civilizational ethos as corrupt, bad, rotten system of practices. Such people, such directors, such producers, such movies, no, but at the end of the day they have to survive. How do they survive? Only if you watch them. Now the brahmacharis also have learnt. If by mistake on the radio or on the something, if there is a Amir Khan song that comes on, and say, hey, somebody change before Swamiji comes. They're jovially saying it, but at least they have recognized. Because somebody takes it upon themselves to say that living in that country, saying that the country has become intolerable and unsafe for anybody to live in, you are selling a narrative. And I don't need to respect you. First of all, stop respecting them. पढ़े लिखे नहीं है वो लोग. They're just playing a role. And it is you who are the market who can decide whether they should be selling that narrative to you or not. Because it has that influence. The newer generation here, the other day I was having a discussion with some college students, and they were saying something about India being oppressive and limiting the rights of Muslims and in India and whatever. And I said, what is the pramana, what is the proof that you have, evidence that you have to say that? And immediately there were three of them, they show me Twitter handles. I said, dude, Twitter is not news. Twitter handles is not news, it is a narrative. There are several such. Hindu is not Hindu. Hindu newspaper is not Hindu. It's a left liberal news media portal. So I can go on to that, but I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm just talking about the idea of thinking and listening to what should be the news or what is the details of the news. Twitter handle has become news. And anybody, as quickly as you can run the ecological system to put a hashtag in the forefront, the rest of the news is completely blocked and covered. So when things happen, please talk to your children about the details of things that are happening by understanding it way past these media projections to give them the clear picture of reality. These students were talking about, I think 3 years ago something happened which was called the Kathua case. Kathua, there was a minor girl that got killed. The first 3 days news that went through all the news portals and the media portals that it was a Hindu killing a Muslim girl. The guy, luckily what happened was, the guy who got arrested, he got out of the prison system because prior to going to Kathua, he was in some big city in UP where he was applying for bank loan, and the bank cameras had him show clearly that for those 3 days where the murder should have happened, he was in the bank. He was randomly picked and the case was fixed on that fellow. It is only after 15 or 20 days after that whole incident happened, in the main news media, in the 5th page, a small column comes saying, oh, it was her uncle who killed her, for the property was given to her, and for the sake of property, he killed her. I am sure 99% of us who have heard of that case do not have the patience to follow up, do not have the keenness to go to the 5th page to read it. A small strip message given. But what is it that we remember? Whatever was sent as a handle, made popular, that some Hindu killed a girl. So what is the narrative that will be sold today? That it is a very dangerous place for Muslims to live in India. Many kids here believe that that is what is happening there. So one thing that I do is I take them all to India and show this is what is India. Second thing is to spend enough time to sit down with them and go through the entire logical process, investigating. You need to spend that time to remove these unnecessary layers that are being built into them, without which they will be considering that, oh, India, Hindus are against everything, they are very oppressive. Do you know what will happen? Because if that gets the strength of the wind of opposition, there will be laws that will be impacting you though you are living here. You may want to separate yourself out and you say, I don't have nothing to do with that part of India. Because the others see you as that, you will still be impacted. Let them label it. You sit down and unravel the several layers that narratives use and go to the root and explain what it is. Sit down with your children and spend time to understand what the media is feeding them. It is not just sufficient that they study and they do their 4.0 and they have maths B and spelling B and whatever else, that along with that these aspects also have to be educated for them to be more aware, more careful, and not to be dragged into unnecessary labels which weaken their own spirit of identity. The reason I spoke on this is many times we take it for granted and don't even focus on addressing this. At least once I need to mention, as teachers, as parents, as well-wishers of the next generation, we need to be aware of that aspect as well. We need to educate on that particular aspect as well. That when a movie like PK comes, you voice your opinion clearly stating as to why it is wrong. An alien comes and he has got no other religion to pick other than Hinduism. Duh. Okay, you made a movie with a special focus of that alien focusing only on Hindus. Now let's make part B, part C, part D. Chalo, next Islam pe bana ke dikhao. Then he will know that Amir Khan, whether staying in as a Muslim, commenting on Islam, he will feel secure. Tab pata chalega. Tetwa dab jayega. I mean, he'll feel suffocated if he makes a movie on that. So to understand what is being fed into your children, how many of you do your grocery shopping? Everybody does, right? Do you spend enough time to look at the label as to what is going into that particular dabba that you are buying, so that that which you are feeding your children is a safe thing that you are, right? When you are so careful about the food that goes in, the food for thought that goes in, shouldn't it also be filtered? Shouldn't it also be seen, corrected? So pay attention to it. Stand up, stand firm, and say the actual factual details. Educate them about it as well. Don't shove it under the rug that it is just a small talk. They don't get influenced by it. It will not have an impact because you are going in America. No, it will. There is already a caste bill that is being issued in California. Californian universities have already confirmed it. It is going to spread across. Meaning you will have to put in your caste to say if your child is qualified to get their seat or not. Why? Because you did not voice against it. Many of us were not even aware of it, let alone to voice against it. It will impact your lives wherever you go, because it is being used as a manipulative tool. Just saying that Bhagwan hai, Bhagwan ke bharose, we are Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. It will stay eternal because that is how it is designed to be. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati. When Bhagwan says glani happens, when does the glani happen? When you and I don't take up responsibility to protect that dharma. Dharmo rakshati. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. If you don't stand up to protect dharma and say, Bhagwan will take care, is Bhagwan not functioning through you? How can we be so apathetic? These baselines of understanding have to be corrected. Cannot be this apathetic. So clear message given. Please understand it and take active role in correcting wherever you find, and voice it. Stand up and voice it. Correct it. Om Shant Shant Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.